And good afternoon, everyone. Hope everybody had a nice Labor Day yesterday. We at James Madison continue to work as we get ready for week number 2 of the college football season. And welcome everyone to O'Neill's Grill for our weekly Fan and Press Luncheon, as we'll have JMU head football coach Mike Houston here at the podium in just a moment. And again, we're here each Tuesday this year. That's still a change from the last several years. We're here on Mondays, so come on out and join us here at O'Neill's on Tuesdays, beginning at noon. A few comments, first of all, from last Saturday's game. Of course, 23,626 were in attendance, and they witnessed what nobody in the 45-year history of JMU football has ever seen: 80 points up on the board and 498 yards of rushing against a Division I opponent. Actually, the record is 501. That was against Frostburg State, and because the Dukes took a couple of knees, I think we lost the opportunity to set that one, Coach, but we do understand that you were being very sportsmanlike in that regard. Yesterday, the national rankings released once again, and JMU remains at number 12 on the Stats FCS poll, and they're anywhere from 10th to 13th on several of the other polls. And if anybody else wants to create a poll, we might have your poll out here as well to see where the Dukes set nationally. And Coach Mike Houston, again, will step up here to answer some questions in just a moment. A few other items before we do get to him. JMU's next game is coming up this Saturday. It is again at home against Central Connecticut State of the Northeast Conference. The Blue Devils, they lost 24-10 at home to Lafayette last Friday. And a little other trivia is the first team to play Madison, the first program to play Madison in the new expanded Bridgeport Stadium, was Central Connecticut State back in 2011. Of course, the 2016 season is brought to you by CarMax. And this Saturday's game in particular will be brought to you by University Outpost. And this is a whiteout game. It's kind of unique to Bridgeport Stadium. We've done some others. But this whiteout game, you can head on over to University Outpost. I understand they have a number of T-shirts they're giving away free to students. And we'll have some other T-shirts available. But if you don't get a T-shirt, we ask you to come out, wear your white on Saturday. Dukes will be in white uniforms. And I understand the early weather report has the temperatures in the low 90s. Is that still the forecast? Okay. So you probably do want to wear white on Saturday. Coverage this weekend on the JMU Sprint Broadcast Network begins at 3 o'clock with Dave Thomas and Clint Estes on the radio network. And, of course, coverage on Matazone HD Sportsnet. We had about 9,000 viewers this past weekend for the game. We hope we get just as many this weekend as the Dukes take on Central Connecticut State. You can join yours truly and Adam Coolbaugh for the 4 o'clock broadcast coming up on Saturday. And a reminder for those of you who are watching live today on Facebook Live, as members of the media will be asking their questions, you can send in your questions to Facebook. We'll keep an eye on those, and maybe we'll ask one of your questions of Coach Houston during today's press conference. One other note, back in 1995, Alex Wood had his first game as the head coach of the Dukes. It happened to be against Morehead State University, another one of those MSUs, and it was a 76-7 final. The 76 points was a JMU record, so there must be some correlation between playing MSUs and first-year head coaches, because Coach Houston and the Dukes topped that this weekend. So let's bring up Coach Houston for our weekly Fan and Press Luncheon. Thank you.
Thanks, Kurt, and thanks to everyone for being here again today, and thanks to O'Neill's for hosting us again this week, and great to be back over here. And obviously it was an outstanding weekend for our football program, and what a perfect game day atmosphere in Bridgeport Stadium this past Saturday, with just under 24,000 fans in attendance. And they were loud and very boisterous and excited, and it was just a great college atmosphere. And I probably could not be more pleased with the performance of our team standing up here today in our first game together. I thought that overall we played very well in all three phases, and thought the kids played extremely hard. Looking at the film, every snap, and it wasn't just the first team guys. When we got in this situation there in the second half, in the third quarter there, we started a lot of substitutes. I thought that our second team and third team guys really came in and played very hard, and continued to play at a very high level, which tells me that our entire group was ready to play on Saturday. So certainly a great win for us and a great way to start off the season, and something we can really build on moving forward as we start looking towards Central Connecticut State. So with that, just questions from the media.
Coach David de Guzman from TV3 in Harrisonburg. On Saturday during the post-game press conference, you guys discussed a lot about the linebacking and that unit, giving a lot of credit to that unit. Now that we've seen that unit come to fruition, if you can kind of discuss the progress that we've seen from day one when you stepped on campus and to what we were able to see on Saturday.
On the offensive line, yeah, and back in the spring, and really it goes back to kind of a philosophy of what kind of offense we're going to be. Last year, very successful offense, put up huge numbers. But they were a tempo, extremely fast-paced. Try to catch you off guard. Don't let you get set. Very side-to-side team. What I would refer to as a finesse offense, and that's certainly not what we want to be. We are going to be a no-huddle spread offense, but we are going to be a very physical at the point of contact football team, especially when we're running the football. And so that started back in the spring and as went on all throughout spring practice, but really during fall camp, kind of, however you want to say it, beating that into our alignment. This is the way we're going to play, and really they've embraced that. And for an offensive lineman, that's kind of what they want to do anyway. And so their development, and you can look at it just from their pad level. Take a look at a game, pick a game from last year, watch the pad level of the offensive line versus the pad level that our guys played with Saturday night, and you'll see the change there. And so I was very pleased with the way they came off the ball and were very, very aggressive in the run game there.
Greg Madid, Daily News Record. Was there any challenge in that? Because they are older, they've been around, so I'm sure, change isn't always easy for that with I don't know, three fifth-year seniors? Yeah,
there's always going to be maybe a little resistance to change, but and it's kind of the whole deal with overall with the entire roster. They really, they really bought in fairly well, from the get-go. There's some things they don't necessarily love the sled that I put them on every week. They're going to be on the sled this afternoon. They're going to be on the sled every Tuesday. That's where we're going to start practice, to reinforce keeping that pad level down and really being aggressive coming off the ball. But they enjoy playing this style of ball, and they bought into it. And then all of a sudden you look at the success we had on Saturday. So I think that's kind of taken care of itself by now.
Dave Thomas, ESPN Harrisonburg. Talk about the conversation you have with Coach Tenure after the game. I saw you took an extra minute with him, and 80 points, not something you were trying to drive up the score, but just kind of talk about your conversation with him if you don't mind.
No, and that's, I wanted him to, he knew that just from the way we were executing in the second half that, nobody goes out there and tries to score 80, in a win like that. But, the thing I told him, I said, Coach, you know that you're a better team than you looked out here tonight. And he's like, well, we sure weren't tonight. And there's the turnovers and some of the mistakes they made that kind of caused it to snowball. But it was a good conversation. He was very appreciative, and I wish them the best of luck. They're a much better team than they looked Saturday night. They just made some critical mistakes against a team that was playing very, very well, and it can get out of hand on you when that happens. Well, you look at them last year, and then you look at them in the first game, and the first thing that sticks out is, they played two quarterbacks last year. One of those two is not back, so 9 is a bigger kid, about 6'6", throws the ball very well, runs decently. But Saturday against Lafayette, they're going to be in a spread, no huddle offense, very similar to us. Last year they ran a lot of aspects of the triple option out of the shotgun. I don't know how much we're going to see of that Saturday. We're going to be prepared for it. But against Lafayette, we didn't see quite as much of that. It was more of a traditional spread offense, throwing the ball, zone run game, that kind of stuff.
Coach, after setting the bar high on Saturday and seeing that kind of a complete performance, what's the message to your team going into practice this week? Since from our end, we're kind of wondering what can JMU do for, an encore performance there?
Well, the number one thing is we're going to see better competition this week than what we saw last week. We're going to see a lot more athletes. We're going to see a lot more size. But at the end of the day, the big thing we were focused on last Saturday had nothing to do with Morehead State. It had more to do with us. And my big message to them today is, that game's behind us. You got to quit listening to everybody telling you how good you are, because you got to focus on every single day improving, especially early in the season. And our focus has to turn completely to Central Connecticut State today, if it hasn't already. But the bigger thing is we've got to keep focusing on us, because certainly there's going to be things that we want to do better this week, and there's going to be things within our package this week that was not there last week. And so, we want to see those perform at a high level as well.
Coach, Wolf Golke with NBC 29. It was a complete performance, not only offensive, defense, on special teams as well. Just kind of talk about the return game, in particular Richard, and how he looked.
You're always worried in first games about the special teams, because you can have a lot of different things, from getting 11 on the field, having the right numbers, to snaps, kicks, things of that nature. But I thought we were very, very good across the board in special teams. I thought our cover teams, particularly kickoff, were outstanding, and certainly Richard Davis, the punt return. We've really, really worked hard on blocking and setting up that return, and you saw 3 or 4 key blocks that kind of gave Richard some room, and then athletic ability takes over there. And certainly Richard's a very dynamic player, and made a great return to a 76-yard touchdown return to get in the end zone, and so really excited for him.
When you look at Central Connecticut State defensively, obviously they have a pretty good front. I think they only allowed 22 rushing yards in their opener. Is that the critical matchup, your offensive line against their defensive front this week? Well,
I think we're going to be tested now. They're big up front. They're going to move a lot. They're going to bring, from a 3-4 deal. They're going to bring people all over the place. So it's going to be a deal where our offensive line is going to have to execute at a high level. They're going to have to be able to handle those moving pieces. They're going to have to be able to handle people rushing from different levels. And so I do think we're going to be challenged right there. So
You'd said after the game that it was a pretty clean game for your team, that you wanted to go back and look at the film, but also the effort and the intensity may have overshadowed maybe some misalignments or some overplays or misplays. When you look back at the film, did you see a lot of out of position or guys not being where they wanted to be?
Not a ton, but I do think that, again, I do think that their effort and their intensity level that they played at made up for anything that might have been wrong schematically or whatever. But really the key for me is cleaning up, playing better this week. Any mistakes we had last week, but if we can consistently go out as a team and play at that intensity level and play as hard as we did on Saturday, every Saturday this fall, we're going to be pretty hard to handle. I mean, that was the hands down the most impressive thing about the performance last Saturday.
I know in losing videos or watching back film, it's easy to go, if you were here, you could have made the play, but when you did what you did on Saturday, was it easy to coach off of, to get them where they needed to be, to help them understand more of what you wanted them to do with the way they played, even with the effort and intensity?
I think the biggest thing is they're motivated. They're motivated by their play on Saturday. And it's not just, the defensive kids are motivated by the way the offense played Saturday. The offensive kids are motivated by the way our defense played on Saturday. Everybody's motivated by the way our special teams performed. They see that, I think they understand that we have a chance to be a pretty decent ball team. And so I think that, and the other thing is, I think that they see that, what we've been preaching to them, whether it's the physical style of running game that we want to have, or playing fundamentally sound defense or things on special teams, they see that if they can execute our schemes that we're coaching them to do, that they're going to play at a very high level. So I think the big thing is they're motivated to improve this week, even coming off of a very good performance.
Mike, I know at Media Day we talked about the CAA and just how good of a conference it is with all these teams that are ranked. And being, you guys are a member of the CAA, did you, seeing a fellow team like Richmond, just being from Charlottesville, I have to ask, did you have any kind of a reaction to their upset win over Virginia? And does that just further bolster how good this conference is?
Well, I think the big thing is you look at the conference across the board last Saturday. I think you had Stony Brook beating North Dakota, a top 20 team. You have Maine coming within a field goal of knocking off UConn. You have Albany knocking off Buffalo. Townsend played South Florida pretty tough. You have Richmond over Virginia. And then you look in the polls this week, and I think 10 of the 12 teams in the CAA are either ranked or receiving votes this week in the polls. And the thing that sticks out to me is, we have a tough schedule in front of us, and this is a very, very good conference, and may be the best conference in the country this year. But we've really got our work cut out for us.
And then just back to the ground game, we talk about the running backs, the offensive line. Brian Shore also having a really good game on the ground. Just kind of talk about his performance and what you saw from him.
Well, number one, I was just really happy for Brian to go out and play the way he did in the opener. He's worked very hard. He's certainly been tested during preseason camp with Connor joining us. And so, for him to go out and, to be the starter and to play the way he did, I was very happy for him. So, and I think just, to his performance running the ball there, I think just from a defensive mentality standpoint, anytime you got a quarterback that can run, it adds a dimension as a defensive coordinator that you have to defend. And now all of a sudden, that's one more guy that can be a ball carrier. And now you may not be able to get hat for a hat. And so it really creates a lot of problems, which it did last Saturday with Brian getting us out of trouble in several occasions on some busted plays.
Kind of staying with the quarterbacks, Connor got in a little, and then you got Hunter in. Just talk about the process of getting all of them in to get some live experience.
Well, and it was important to us to get Connor, some game experience. So I was excited for that. I think that kind of gets some jitters out of him and gets him, acclimated to Bridgeforth Stadium a little bit. And certainly I was excited to get Hunter Etheridge in there at the end. Hunter's been great since I got here. He's a tough kid. He's doing all. He's holding some. He's snapping some on as a backup long snapper. He's over there. He's a signal guy on the sideline. So there's so many things that he does for the team that's kind of behind the scenes. It's great to get him out there and get him involved in the action. I thought he did a great job when he got a chance to play too.
How has he just kind of handled the overall role of being the backup once I guess you made the decision to go to Brian?
Connor's been great. I mean, Connor has had a very positive attitude since he got here. Certainly he's a competitor, and he wants an opportunity to get out there and play. And he was positive after the game Saturday. He and I talked, and the reality is that guy in that position that he's in right now is critical to a team, especially if you're going to have a special season, because there's going to be a time where he's going to have to come in and pull us through at some point this year. And I expect him to go out and compete every day. And, if there's some point where we feel like that, he's ready to take the reins, then, we might do something then. But, right now he is fantastic. He is positive, and he's very supportive of Brian. So I think we've got a good room with the quarterbacks.
With you guys being able to play so many second, third string young guys last week, did you see anybody that jumped out on film that you were a little surprised about once they got into the game?
Well, I think I was just pleased overall. You look at our second offensive line when they got in there. I thought they played fantastic. Mac Patrick, we thought he could go out and play at a high level, and he confirmed that with his play there in the second half. He's going to be a good one. Tyree Chavis at tackle up front, thought played very, very well. Jaron Butler got in there, and I thought was very physical, with that second offensive line. And you look defensively, Dorius Rogers, I thought played well when he got opportunity in there. Bryce McGinley with his first career tackle. I thought Adam Smith played great on special teams and then was playing well defensively before, he had an unfortunate call right there that, ended his night. But and then you look at the running backs, and that's really what separated kind of those backup units. Is all of a sudden you Carden and Khalid are done for the night, and you have Trey Sharp and Taylor Woods coming in there carrying the football, which they're pretty darn good. They can play at a pretty high level. So I think our depth at running back really stood out there in the second half.
Is Adam out for the first half then of this week's game?
As of right now, he is.
Okay.
Coach, kind of on the topic of Adam, you had several reviews that slowed the game down, stopped the game. How does you and your staff handle that with your kids as far as trying to keep the momentum going when things are going so well for you, when you have so many stoppages?
Well, we kind of treat it as a timeout. I think it's good. I think it's good for us. I think it's good, to go through that stuff and that game atmosphere and get everybody prepared for that, because you're going to have it all year long. I think the replay is a good thing for our league and for college football. My thing is just making sure, and I talked with the director of officials this week, is we need to make sure that we have the proper camera angles in the stadium that give the replay official what they need up there to see. I'm not positive that we had that Saturday night, and so we're kind of looking at that this week in advance of the Central Connecticut game.
Talk about Jimmy Moreland's play after being out a year, coming back. Just kind of talk about what he brought to your team.
I thought he played very well. I thought he played very well in the special teams area. Had a couple of tackles on kickoff, that pinned Morehead State deep inside their 20-yard line for starting field position. Thought he did a good job on the punt block. I mean, he really freed up Steve Smallwood to have a shot there at a block punt. I thought he did a good job when he got in there on defense. I'd like for him to hold on to the football whenever he gets a pick. So we've talked about ball security with him and making sure he stays behind the blocks we have set up for him. But I thought it was a good, solid game for him, after his time off.
And the process of him getting back, first earning the right to be back and then getting back. How has he been through this process, and how has that made him a better football player?
He's been good, but he didn't really have a chance. He didn't really have a choice. It has not been easy for him, and we have not been easy on him. I was very firm with him from the first time I met him that there were no three-strike rules with him. He made some mistakes, and that's fine. Everybody makes mistakes, but he's, to his credit, he's taken advantage of the opportunity, and he's handled himself in a very positive manner. And I know that he's got a lot of support from his mother down in Florida, who has really pushed him to get things on track, and I'm proud of him that he's been able to do that.
Coach, we do have a couple of questions that came in from our Facebook Live. Michael Evangelista says, Coach Houston, do you expect more sacks from the like of Ankara and Carter and Izagu and company? And no sacks were recorded by the defensive ends, and at times they were pushed up the field in his observation in third and long situations. So would you expect more sacks this weekend?
I certainly hope so, but that's part of it is Morehead State, fairly quick passing game, knowing that we were fairly athletic up front. So when you have the short controlled passing game, it doesn't give a whole lot of opportunity for pressure. But certainly in the long yardage situations and the five-step passing game, we've got to do a better job of generating a pass rush from our front four.
Also, John McNamara had a question about how you balanced, particularly with the score the way that it was, getting reps for your starters and or having them sit. What was that process?
Well, and we talked about it at halftime, and I told the coaches I wanted one series for each starting group to start the second half, and then after that we were going to sub completely across the board. So, and that's the reason for it. It's the first game. It's not like we're playing in game 9, so you're still trying to get into game shape with those starters. All likelihood you're going to have a 4-quarter game this Saturday, so you better be able to play more snaps than we played last Saturday. But that's all things you weigh in, and at the same time, I'm very glad that we had the opportunity to get reps for a lot of young guys and a lot of backups that have not played a lot in the past, because you cannot simulate game experience no matter what you do in practice, and so that experience is very valuable for those guys.
That's all the questions that we do have now from our Facebook page. Any other questions from the media here at O'Neill's Grill? All right, thank you very much. We do appreciate it.
Thanks a lot for being here. Go Dukes.